My name's Nicole, and I'm a doc for kids, and I help parents not lift their lids. Woo! Ready?
Ready.
Roll call.
I'm Dr. Todd. I know the tricks to keeping kids from getting sick.
Woo! Oh my God, Todd, what are we gonna do? It's like, people just don't believe us anymore.
I know, Nicole. You know what? These people would rather just listen to some random person or somebody on social media. I bet they couldn't even pass Mr. Jenkins' 9th grade science class.
I totally know what you're saying, Todd, but what are we gonna do?
I don't know, maybe. Wait, what if we created the perfect cheer?
Vaccinate!
Who's that girl talking about vaccine?
It's me!
Who's that girl talking about vaccine?
It's me! All right. COVID, the COVID, you can take our knee!
My God. God help us. With all the crazy.
Experience the next level in high-powered energy nootropics with our latest BrainForce offering, BrainForce Ultra. Now it is easier than ever to take in the new liquid form with 8 beneficial super ingredients. BrainForce Ultra is the result of years of enhanced formulation. Free of toxic additives, each ingredient is specifically selected for its many key properties. Some of the proprietary super ingredients behind BrainForce Ultra include guarana seed, which is loaded with energy compounds and antioxidants that have been used by Amazonian tribes for centuries. Alpha GPC, a natural compound found in the brain that delivers an essential nutrient, choline. And ginkgo leaf, which is also known for its exceptional antioxidant content. This product is more than twice the servings of our BrainForce Plus as well, so you know it's packed full of the good stuff. Destroy that brain fog today and secure your bottle of BrainForce Ultra before it is completely sold out at InfoWarsStore.com.
All the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs. You
That was Andrew Breitbart more than 10 years ago on this February 1st, 2022, the late Andrew Breitbart's birthday. And so we say happy birthday to the legend, no longer with us. As we witness the media and the Prime Minister of Canada and all these other people say that the Canadian truckers are racist. Ah, yes, the oldest trick in the book, abracadabra. Racist, abracadabra bigot, abracadabra homophobe, abracadabra Islamophobe, abracadabra xenophobe. Just abracadabra and like a magic wand. You're just supposed to go into a trance. Oh, you said racist? Oh, I see. The truckers are disqualified. You called them racist. That's intellectual. That's logical. Yes, that's intelligence. Abracadabra. Oh, what do you say, Master? Now, I've got a bunch of updates coming from the Freedom Convoy, including it looks like American truckers are going to try to pull a copycat and have a Freedom Convoy in America on its way to Washington, D.C., on its way to the White House. So we'll be monitoring that. And then I got a bunch of video clips from Ottawa as well that I'm going to play as just kind of an update on the latest there in the next segment. Now, really the biggest story right now should be how the establishment and the mainstream media is just desperate for a war in Ukraine. That was the biggest story last night, and really Sunday night too, on the mainstream media. Even Fox News, I would say, is not making it their biggest story. The biggest story for Fox News lately has been the border. But, and in fact, speaking of that, guys, see if we can't pull up a live stream. There's actually a House Freedom Caucus. There's a House Freedom Caucus hearing happening right now with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, a bunch of other Republicans in the House Freedom Caucus. And they are talking to people who live at the border. They're talking to law enforcement at the border on the wide open border issue. And they're showing images of the dead bodies they found, images of the girls that have been raped, images of all the drugs that they have seized. They've shown the numbers, how the illegal immigration numbers have just skyrocketed. They've showed how it's come from, I think it's 46 different countries on the planet. Since Biden's taken office, we've had illegal immigrants come from 46 different countries. So it's pretty much, almost the whole planet. And this is all going on, and you won't see a bit of coverage from the mainstream news on this. No, they're desperate to have their war in Ukraine. So we'll have all that coming up. Yeah, there it is right there. We may even be coming in and out of this as it's live today. In fact, I'd like to pop in real quick. This is Brandon Judd, president of the National Border Patrol Council. Guys, let's just take a little audio from this now in the opening segment. Guys, are we able to get audio? Oh, thank you.
They're going to sanctuary cities, right? They're not just going random places. They're going to very targeted regions in America.
Yeah, the vast majority are not going to go to cities where they are going to be under the fear of deportation. They're going to go to the states, and they're going to go to the cities where they know they're going to be protected.
And so this becomes a hub for their operations, not just the human trafficking that they make work on. They also drug trafficking, sex trafficking. What are some other things that the cartels operate in the interior of the United States, really with support from the UN and others?
The cartels control all illegal activity that takes place on the border. And let me tell you, it's not just drugs, it's not just sex trafficking. They traffic exotic animals. We have apprehended parrots coming across the border illegally. We have apprehended animals from all over the country. We seize counterfeit goods such as Oakley products, Oakley sunglasses. We seize all kinds of different contraband. It's not just those things, but it is true that the vast majority of the profits come from illegal immigration and drug trafficking.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I want to finish on is, look, you've had agents on the border that have received fire, rifle fire, pistol fire, weapons that are meant to kill them or scare them off. And what can you do in response to that?
If we don't see the threat, which the vast majority of the time we will not see the threat, we will hear where the gunfire is coming from, but we will not see the threat. If we can't see the threat, we can't return fire, because then we could end up endangering those people that...
Of course, you got to be able to know and see your target. Do you get any support from the Mexican government on the other side of the border?
Not at all.
Thank you.
Chair, thanks, gentlemen.
All right, so just piping in quickly to the Freedom Caucus there. The Republicans are hosting this hearing, talking about the border crisis. And I mean, people get up there and they start crying with how bad it is. People who've lived there their whole life get up there and they say it's never been this bad. They get up there and they just say, look, I don't even know what to say. I was invited to speak up here. I'm just stunned. I don't know what to say. It's complete lawlessness. There is no border. And so it's just, we live in a fallen culture. We live in a fallen nation, and it's sad. These are the signs and symptoms of a corrupt regime intentionally imploding a nation. And by the way, having said that, there's an interesting dynamic at this current phase of the Great Reset, and that's that it's been completely rejected. The Great Reset is completely rejected. The Great Reset is a failed regime before it even takes full power. So it's going to deteriorate as it starts to flex and get more powerful. It's like as it reaches to grab you, to strangle you, the claws, the fingers, the hand, the arm starts to just wither away right as it gets its fingers around your throat. medical treatment because they're white, or denying people medical treatment because they haven't had a vaccine, or all the censorship that they've engaged in. Hell, even the New York Times today is calling for an investigation and suing the State Department because they were told the Hunter Biden laptop was fake. They were told the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden emails with Tony Bobulinski were fake. Now they realize they're real, and so they're demanding an investigation. They're saying, how could we at the New York Times be duped? How could we be tricked? If the Hunter Biden emails were real, if the diaries were real, if the laptop was real and we reported that it wasn't real, well, how could this be? So they're suing the State Department. Can it really go any further than Joe Biden, a corrupt old pervert who's been in government for 5 decades, has ties to the KKK, Hunter Biden running around the world with hookers and dealing drugs and art and being a drug addict and a porn addict and a sex addict? Hey man, do what you want in your own time, but really the Bidens, these guys, these are the corrupt, this is the crime family running the country. So we got all that coming up. We got more vaccine, COVID news, more crazy leftists and cultural news. Seriously, I've got some videos of liberals here today that, how do you help these people? A straight jacket and a farm.
The average person on the face.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been 4 years since My Patriot Supply allowed us to do 25% off on food sales. Now, they have the food ready to ship. It's super high quality. It's the lowest price you're going to find anywhere for food of this quality. It's what I use, what my family uses, it's what I've stockpiled here at the office, because I know the globalists want a post-industrial world, want to collapse civilization. And if they're able to do it, we've got to have generators and diesel and food and everything, which we have. But a lot of you obviously don't have the money or the places to store stuff like this. But storable food, you do. Put it in the attic, put it in the basement, put it in the closet. They bought massive amounts of food last year and this year because they saw the prices going way up with inflation, which did happen. But literally, only for our viewers and listeners, they are doing a once 3 or 4 year deal of 25% off, only for InfoWarsStore.com shoppers. You can also go to preparewithalex.com. That will take you as a URL straight to the subpage of InfoWarsStore.com. All their specialty foods, all of their products, 25% off. And what's great is we normally only make 25-30% on the food because there's not a lot of markup. They make 20-30%, we make 20-30%. That's why they're affordable. They're not doing 200%, 300% markup. They're doing 100% and trying to pay their bills with it. That's why they become dominant, because the price again is so low. But they are eating the 25% discount and not taking it out of ours. Because when we do discounts, part of that comes out of what we make, and we need money. We don't have extra money. We're a little bit in the red here. So this is a godsend when they called and said, hey, we actually don't have a lot of extra food, but we got a little bit more than what we thought we needed. And we package this and ship it out when it's fresh. And so it literally, God laid it on our heart. These folks are big Christians, and obviously big supporters, to just help you and your listeners by giving them 25% off. So this is exclusive to InfoWarsStore.com, Ready Hour. They've got 5 big facilities around the country. Their main base is Utah, and we are their biggest seller as well. But I'm telling you, they've got a warehouse in Utah I was at that you could park an aircraft carrier in. So that's just the front end. That's just 1/20th of it. The whole storage facility where the raw food comes in and gets processed is the whole back of the building, 80% of it. I mean, it is the biggest building I've ever been inside of. So, and all that scalability is how they give you these great prices. So, I literally, Lord works mysterious ways. I said earlier, I'm sitting there with accountants last week going, oh, we got a $2.5 million shortfall again. We can't get a lot of the supplements in because of supply chain breakdown. People aren't going to buy $2 million worth of t-shirts. What am I going to do? I just sold my house. I'm going to put that in, but that was for expansion and new operations and backup systems. What am I going to do? And then boom, this just came right through, and we're having massive sales. Biggest sales of food ever. People with the Russian situation, the supply chain breakdowns, all of it understand. Now's the time not to wait. One of the big things you've got to check off on that checklist of preparedness is storable food. They've got water filters, air filters. They're discounted too. InfoWarsStore.com or PrepareWithAlex.com. And hopefully this sale runs through the 13th. Hopefully, it looks like at current sales rates, we might actually get the $2.5–3 million just perfectly in the sale that they called and said you can do this for 2 weeks. So thank you, God, and thank you, listeners, for the support. But this is something you already need. So it's a 360 win, and God always keeps me right on empty, though, like the widows might. Each day it's renewed. So thank you, Lord. We'll be right back. Stay with us. up with these calls, but then Greg Reese and, of course, Harrison Smith are going to take another hour of calls. The crew's volunteered to do it. So we're here live covering this, hoping everything de-escalates. So the live coverage continues. Everybody spread those links. The globalists are hacking us, trying to shut this down. Don't let them win. No BS. Let me tell you, everything's straight shooting here. See, I don't have some Machiavelli manipulative view. With me, it's all straightforward attack. That's the real power.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are resistance.
So the Freedom Caucus, of course, Democrats not interested in that. So it's Republicans and the Freedom Caucus that are having a hearing today on the border crisis and all the things that come with it. By the way, Kamala Harris, who's supposed to be the border czar, she's supposed to be overseeing the border crisis. She's nowhere to be found. Nobody knows where she's at. Definitely not at this hearing today. I want to go back live to this. This is an important hearing. A lot like the hearing Ron Johnson had last week, the second opinion hearing with all the doctors and scientists, virologists, and everybody, lawyers, talking about the vaccine side effects that are being covered up. That was huge that the mainstream media ignored. This is big, too. The crisis at the southern border is a big deal. The fact that we don't even have a border is a big deal. Let's go live to the House Freedom Caucus border crisis hearing right now.
Government and Colombian and American collaboration operations. I think that would be a great place to start. It's one thing to also pressure the Chinese about their imports, but the cartels, unfortunately, have already figured out a whole bunch of workarounds anticipating that. So I think it has to be done internationally overseas to the source countries for the precursor chemicals that are coming in, but it especially has to be kinetic, physical action on the ground in Mexico. It's got to be U.S. initiated, U.S. pressed, U.S. forced diplomatically. But where's the DEA? Where's the head of the DEA right now?
That's a good question. Mr. Judd, can you tell me if there's any coordination between the DEA and Border Patrol? Is there any kind of, do they work together, and how do they do that?
Theoretically, that is supposed to happen, but for the most part, agencies will guard their own intelligence because they want to be the ones that make the big bust. To go back to your original question, what can be done? I would argue that we must start with illegal immigration, because if we can control illegal immigration, we can then go after the cartels and the profits. But as long as our hands are continually tied with the millions, because it is millions, of people that have crossed the border illegally, we're always going to give the cartels the upper hand to continue to cross our products, create the artificial gaps in our coverage. We've got to go after the illegal immigration first, and then we can go after the cartels.
Let me ask you a question. On my visit to the border, I was told there's only 19,000 Border Patrol agents for our entire border, the southern border, northern border, and both oceans. New York City has approximately 35,000 police officers, just for perspective on how undermanned Border Patrol is. How many more Border Patrol agents do you think is needed to be able to do that job?
I appreciate your willingness to give us more agents, but I would tell you first, let's start with policy, because I believe that we can control the border right now. I don't believe that we need to pass this on to the taxpayer. I don't think that we need to burden the taxpayer any more than what they're currently burdened. Let's start with policy. After the policy, then we can look at what needs to be done after that.
What are the policies that are missing?
We must hold people in custody, even acting in the parameters of this administration. This administration said that the MPP was inhumane, to make people wait in Mexico. So I'm willing to act within their parameters. And I told this to the administration, to the transition team. I told them that we must hold people in our custody. We must challenge Flores. Then we must hold people in our custody pending deportation. The moment we do that, people will start coming. Everybody will argue that we don't have the resources, we don't have the facilities to hold 2 million people. We don't. But the moment we start holding people and stop releasing them, they will stop coming. Therefore, we don't have to throw resources at this problem.
Thank you. The gentlelady's time has expired.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes Representative Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I entered Congress in September of 2019. 2019 had followed that May peak, the former administration adapted to circumstances, changed policy, and proved that this can be dramatically changed. There can be effective border enforcement. outrageous beyond, it's not even an adequate description to call it outrageous. And we're sitting here with this narrow platform to try to amplify for the American people what is happening here. What must an American who watches this believe? I hear it all the time on a variety of subjects throughout my district back in North Carolina, that people are desperate to know what is happening, what can we do? We have, by your description, by the witness's description, we have a conspiracy, if you will, of the current administration of the United States, the President of the United States, UN organizations that we mostly finance, American lawyers who are traveling to try to facilitate false claims of asylum so that people can flood into the United States. I'll be honest with you. Secretary Mayorkas came before Homeland Security, won't come before the Judiciary, by the way, but he came before Homeland Security a couple of times early this year, and he would say, we have a plan, and we are executing our plan. And I kept seeing that phrasing appear in all of the transcripts in the Senate and in the House. He would say, we have a plan, and we are executing our plan every day. And I asked him one time, I said, so is this the plan? And he sort of started trying to backpedal as if the answer was no, but I think there's no denying it. This is intentional. It is intentional policy. I think I want to venture to ask you witnesses if you can explain to me why those who are pursuing this seek to do it. They certainly see that it is imposing unprecedented human misery. People are dying and suffering. You said something a moment ago, Mr. Judd, and I'm going to send the question to you first. You said that the vast majority, that was your phrasing, of migrants coming illegally are entering indentured servitude. And it makes all the sense in the world, whether it turns out the numbers $3,000 or $5,000 or $6,500 or $33,000 for some particular ethnicities or people are points of origin. People are paying more money than people in those circumstances have to come here. And if they're paying it, that means they've got to pay it off by working for somebody as essentially a slave. Why are those who have worked together to do this, why are they doing it?
1 and 1 always equals 2. I'm going to use the evidence that has been gathered to come to that conclusion. They are simply trying to appease their far left base. That's what they're doing. That's what they care about. When you ask Secretary Mayorkas if he has a plan, I would argue that he does have a plan. His plan is to pull our resources off the border to appease that far left base. That this.
All right, folks. So again, you're listening live here. The Freedom Caucus having a hearing on the border crisis, not a Democratic side. But just imagine, you can hear it in the representative from North Carolina's voice that was just speaking. Just imagine. I mean, it's like you are witnessing massive lawlessness, total criminality at the southern border. And then when you raise that issue to the president or the White House or Border Patrol and everybody, they're just saying, look, it's policy. What do you mean it's policy? Yeah, that's the policy. We have an open border. We're bringing in drug dealers. We're bringing in rapists. We're bringing in pedophiles. That's the policy. By the millions. That's our policy. You say, that's illegal. And so you're witnessing crimes. You report the crimes, and then law enforcement says crime is our policy, and then you're just like, what? Well, what's my recourse? What do I do now? Crime is the policy? Because then you arrest the criminals that are doing it. That'd be the Democrats. That'd be the Biden administration. They're the ones doing it. That's why you see these undercover videos in Border Patrol meetings where they're just like screaming at each other like, how can we do this anymore? This is criminal.
UN-run riotous mobs. Whether they were present that day or were otherwise criminally responsible for the assault on our democracy. Insurrections. We will follow the facts wherever they lead. Domestic terrorists.
The days of independent media are numbered. The government has made it illegal to oppose them. They are now debanking us behind the scenes. They want to bankrupt us and make us go away quietly. With practically half the population wanting to lock the unvaccinated up in camps, the traitors know they can shut us down by force. But that would accelerate the awakening exponentially. So be it. Make them silence us by force. This is the final battle of the information war. Give now. Buy
locally in my area dispute it. As soon as I tell somebody they don't have to be afraid, their whole demeanor changes.
Buddy, Army veteran in New York.
Quick plug. Thank you for the silver round. I am one of the original members of listeners to Alex Jones. You know, from practicing in the woods with a little shortwave radio. You know, trying to make sure I can hear him.
Steve, you're on the InfoWars War Room. Go ahead.
Oh, and what's up, man? I'd like to do a product plug real fast. Vitamin D Winter Sun. I've been pretty much living off it for a while. I'm making it a point to be the healthiest person in my office, since I'm probably, labeled the only outspoken anti-vaxxer there. So, yeah, Winter Sun, I love it.
That's great. You know, Winter Sun is tough to keep in stock because it sells out so quickly. Let me tell you, as somebody that really likes the sun, I really like the sun, or maybe it's just the vitamin D. When the winter months come around and I can't get out on the sun or go on the river or go to a pool or something, it really sucks. Steve, thank you so much for that plug. Thank you so much for the support and the call today, brother. I tell you, you open up the phone lines, this audience is more informed than most people in media, folks. Those two stories coming up and more, but InfoWarsStore.com. Now, you're seeing truckers standing up against the medical tyranny in Canada and soon in the United States. You already have the supply chain issues. You already are seeing empty store shelves, and you already know about the Great Reset. Now, if all of this goes the worst it possibly could, or even the best it possibly could, you could be faced with a situation where you need food. Don't be in a situation where you need food. Have the food you need by going to InfoWarsStore.com and taking advantage of 25% off emergency storable food supplies. 25% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. All storable food supplies. Whether it's the 2-year supply, the 1-year supply, the 3-month supply, everything else in between, or the individual select cases that you can get, all of it 25% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. We've also got big discounts on the air filters and water filters, but importantly, for you, for your family, for insurance, you can eat in the worst case scenario. All storable foods are 25% off at InfoWarsStore.com. And it's your support there that keeps us on air. So we can have the great guests on and can air the reports the mainstream media will ignore, like the Freedom Caucus having a hearing on the open border crisis that is ongoing right now. And you've heard some of these individuals speaking. They're just aghast. Like, how could this be going on? How could we have complete lawlessness and criminality at the southern border? And how is it policy? How is crime policy? Well, that's Democrats. So let's go back to this hearing right now.
Or drug use. And so, is that the case? And if so, what? I know we've talked a little bit about fentanyl, but what drugs are you seeing being backpacked by these mules to pay passage coming into the country? What are the primary concerns as far as the drugs we're seeing right now?
We're seeing everything. We're seeing heroin. We're seeing cocaine, large amounts of cocaine. So it was, whether you agree or disagree with legalizing marijuana, what we saw now is the moment marijuana is taken out of the equation, then all of the other drugs come into prominence. And so now we're seeing a large number of large amounts of cocaine, large amounts of heroin, and obviously the fentanyl is a huge problem. So we're seeing much harder narcotics than we've ever seen before, and it's all generated by, again, policy.
So the drug cartel basically are striking while the iron's hot. They're moving the really expensive, really dangerous stuff across the southern border while it's so porous right now. And, I'll tell you this, I have a physician in my district. She actually works in a college town, and she has tried to send a warning out. We are losing college students to fentanyl. They don't know what they're getting. A lot of them see it as a photo, or they look it up online and say, oh, yeah, this is what I bought. And then we're having those fatalities as a result. So that's certainly a problem. And I want to move on to Mr. Benson real quick. Mr. Benson, did I understand correctly, and this is the first I've heard this, so I'm glad I was here today, that we're funding the UN, who are in turn now paying people to cross our border, or funding the process for this invasion on our southern border. So the government is paying for an invasion on the southern border. Is that kind of what I took away from what you said?
The UN is operating all along the migrant trail, and in the form that their operations take is to support the migrants on the trail, to give, according to their own documents, it's to empower migrant decision making. Well, I mean, if you give migrants the power to make those decisions, in other words, eliminate the financial pressure that would normally come into play on the trail, they're going to choose to keep going north. And so we don't really, it's opaque. We don't know the full extent of how much money of our money is going into cash-based interventions, but we know that plenty is, and we also know that the United Nations has planned to ramp up the cash-based interventions program dramatically for 2022 and beyond.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the time you spent with us today and answering our questions. And so basically, I'm going to close with this, and then I'll yield back. So basically, the Democratic policies are, number one, we're going to create indentured slaves, or slaves come to the country, or we're going to create drug use. So a closed border is truly a compassion border. And so we've got a problem on the southern border. With that, I'll yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank the gentleman. Now recognize Representative Matt Rosendale.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much all the witnesses for joining us today. This is really important to help us to keep the spotlight on this issue, because as everyone has been stating, the administration doesn't want to listen to it. The general public doesn't hear about it because the mass media is not helping us promote it. So it is up to the members here in this room and the witnesses that are here today to help us get this message out. I would like to start off directly diving into the questions. And Mr. Judd, you have talked about the different aspects of your job and what you've been doing. And I don't want to get into the policies, because we know the policies are attracting all of these individuals. So what I want to get at is, besides the fact that we are being flooded with additional people because of the policies that are in place that are attracting them, what would be the differences in your day? What I'm trying to find out about is what procedures have been eliminated or prohibited from your previous law enforcement practices that you can no longer do. Can you contrast a little bit of that from 18 months ago?
Yeah, so that's the problem. We're still doing all the paperwork that we've ever done before, which which is pulling our resources out of the field. So that's a problem. The main thing that we're seeing is we just don't have people patrolling the border. For instance, just a couple days ago, the Yuma area of responsibility covers about 150 miles, a little bit more than 150 miles. We only had 4 agents patrolling 150 miles border. Now that 150 miles border normally takes about 75 to 90 agents. We had 4 agents out there. So what's happening is all of our resources are being pulled out of the field, so we're not able to patrol the border properly like what we used to do.
So with the border wall system in many of those areas, how many Border Patrol agents did you need to cover those areas if we were able to keep that all intact?
So without a wall, it would take about, and the areas are different, so it depends upon the terrain. But generally speaking, if you don't have any walls or any barriers or infrastructure, it would take about 1 agent per linear mile to patrol. With a wall, we can then get away with 1 agent for every 3 to 5 linear miles. So it allows our resources to be a lot more effective in patrolling a lot larger area.
And while they are patrolling that area, would you say with all that additional technology that also your agents are much more effective and safe at the same time?
Yeah, we get to dictate where illegal border crossings take place. Just as an example, in one of my areas, Naco, Arizona, prior to any infrastructure whatsoever, we had 100,000 apprehensions every year. After the wall was built, those 100,000 apprehensions dropped down to 10,000 apprehensions. But not just that, but our percentage of effectiveness went up 90% with the walls. So yes, they're extremely effective.
And again, with the apprehensions going up and having all those deterrents in place, we started seeing the actual encounters going down anyway because folks knew that.
All right, so again, this is the Freedom Caucus hearing on the Biden border crisis. Just unbelievable developments, and really they've broken a lot of news that we already knew, but it's just on the public record now for everybody to see and consume. And so really what needs to be done, because this open border criminality can't go on forever. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, you hear these Republicans are like, yeah, we're just facilitating crime. We're facilitating slavery. The Biden administration is running the whole thing. It's time to start asking questions of the Biden administration. It's time to start asking questions of those that have opened the border and say, to what ends? Why have you done this? Are you profiting? Are you involved in this?
Why am I in?
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection, the process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest, a process which had once favored the noblest traits of man, now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down.
Every time a hurricane or storm's coming, the gas stations just fill up with women with plastic bags they get inside, and then they put the gas in and then wonder why the gas eats through it and spills, and they just don't know. Now look at this woman, spraying gasoline on top of the car. This is not a joke. She thinks that's how you clean your car, and she's got her mask on.
So let me get this straight. She's black. She's Indian. He's a reverend. He's a hero. And this guy is a woman?
I'm gonna grow a magnificent pair of breasts.
So that means that this is a peaceful protest, and this is a deadly insurrection. This guy's a white supremacist, and this guy won the election.
The economy was in a state of deep neglect. A great dust bowl had ravaged food supplies, and the #1 movie in the country was called Ass.
And that's the Secretary of Health.
It's kind of stupid.
Today could be your lucky day. California's first vaccine lottery drawing takes place tonight.
That's right. You can win $1 million. Get vaccinated. Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You're saying I could get this? Two delicious fries? But there's also a burger element to this?
Joints for jabs. That's what they're calling it.
Free joints today to those who could prove they got the COVID vaccine.
Do something smart.
The answer.
is mass formation psychosis.
Did you just make that up?
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
You're the smartest guy in the world. You're pretty dumb sometimes.
I'm kind of retarded.
Reset Wars. Reset Wars is legit. Reset Wars has been a great tool in both recap.
I've been listening to the Reset Wars, watching it while I clean my dad's place. My father just died. It's been helping me a lot with a lot that's going on in my life, and I just think it's a great course, and anyone who's going through loss or anyone who's going through or knows what's going on and wants to do something.
It really dives deeper into yourself and into the bigger picture that doesn't necessarily go across political lines or religious lines, but about all of us as a human species coming together.
I'm a combat veteran, and I mean, that brought me close to God, but what Alex goes through brought me even closer. I can feel God in my life now. The viruses that Alex talks to you about that are subconsciously programmed into your brain, how to erase those programs and install new.
I don't wear this shirt because it's popular or trendy. I wear it because over the last year and a half, I've done my research on Alex Jones, and I've come to find out that Alex Jones has been right. Reset Wars is a concise version of Alex's thoughts, where he's been, where things are going.
Reset Wars is a step beyond what you already get in regular InfoWars broadcasts. It's an academic level course that will raise your awareness and help you live a more conscious and self-determined life. If you're on the fence about Reset Wars, it's time to get off the fence. Join Reset Wars today.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance.
Sights and sounds from the Freedom Convoy in Canada, and there's news updates coming consistently here as the Canadian law enforcement is now threatening to arrest, imprison, fine the truckers involved in this, as Justin Trudeau is hiding in a log cabin somewhere, probably in a closet. Let's start here. Where to begin? Let's start with clip 7, guys. I've got about 4 clips we'll get to here just to kind of give you the latest, the sights and the sounds. Let's start with clip 7. This was in Ottawa earlier today. And it's just a journalist walking through the crowds there in Parliament Square. And you're seeing all the flags and all the honking of the horns. The energy, the excitement still there early this morning in the freezing cold. Justin Trudeau gets a little more upset, a little more afraid that his reign of terror in Canada might come to an abrupt halt. So you've got that going on in Parliament Square, and then guys, let's jump to clip 8. This is at the Montana-Alberta border, where the police are now moving in on the truckers. This is where they have shut down the U.S.-Canada border in clip 8.
Well, good news, everybody. Rebel News has decided to help us out with lawyer fees, which we really appreciate. Thank you, guys. Ezra Levant just gave us a call and said that whatever fees wasn't covered by trucker website there.
No. Trucker Lawyer.
Truckerlawyer.ca. So whatever's not covered, he would the shortfall he would cover himself personally. So just wanted to let you guys know, really good news. We've got good guys on our side. I really appreciate it. All funds are going to be taken care of. They're going to cover all tickets being given out, and it's all going to be crowd-funded. So thank you, everybody, for donating. We really appreciate it.
All right, and And it's been announced just moments ago. The police did show up, threatened to arrest and imprison the truckers, and they are now retreating. I repeat, the police are now in retreat. RCMP retreats as truckers move forward. Absolutely incredible stuff here. So law enforcement sent out by Trudeau to try to shut down the Freedom Convoy is now in retreat, as you can see in the video. Guys, are we able to get audio from this too? If so, let's pipe it up. Okay, so there's no audio here. We just got this footage. This is just breaking news right now. The police showed up to try to stop the Freedom Convoy, threatening arrest, fines, imprisonment, and they are now retreating. Hopefully, they back off and leave them alone and don't retreat to then convene and figure out what they can do to try to shut down the Freedom Convoy next. The Canadian police should be supporting the Freedom Convoy. So that's going on, guys. Let's pull back from that now. And so they're having some fun, though, in Canada. It wouldn't be a Canadian event without a little hockey. And so some of the truckers decided to organize a little street hockey, and you can witness that in clip 9. Let the puck drop. There you go. So you've got street hockey going on out there, right outside of Parliament Square. The truckers have organized a game of street hockey. Look at these racists and terrorists, violent liars, and oh my gosh, the truckers that love freedom and love Canada and just want to play some street hockey. Oh, they're the worst. Oh, how could they even exist? I can't even believe it. Where's Trudeau, by the way? Anybody seen Trudeau today? Do we know, is he around? Is he aware of what's going on? Does he know what's going on? Can he even ice skate? Is he a bender? So there you go. Now here's more footage that's coming out right now. Just the scenes from the Montana-Alberta border there, where it's not just truckers now, but farmers are out there as well. And there's been a unification of American farmers, Canadian farmers, American truckers, Canadian truckers, and they've shut down the border in protest of the COVID tyranny. Now here's a tearjerker for you in clip 6. A trucker reads a note, a letter that he got from an 11-year-old girl, and he can't hold the tears back. Here it is in clip 6.
And when we were in Port Hope, it was hundreds and hundreds of people heading to Ottawa, but there was a lot of people that couldn't make it, so they brought food and all kinds of items for the truckers and whatnot, and we're asking people to take it up there. So we took a few bags. I just got overwhelmed. We opened up one of the bags to see what they had in them, and I got punched in the heart. Whoever these people are, they had their kids do up a bag with a cookie in it for the truckers, and they attached a note with it, put their artwork on there. Sorry, I'm getting emotional again. I'm going to show you what it was. And this is why we're doing what we're doing. Some little kid made this. Reach for the stars, we believe in you. And there's a picture of a truck. Inside of it, they left a note. The note says, "Dear Mr. or Mrs. Trucker, it's really awesome that you're standing up for human rights. I'm only 11. So I don't know much about it, but I believe what's happening is wrong. And I know you can do it. Sincerely, Kate." And she's got a cookie in a baggie for a trucker. This is absolutely amazing, and this is why we're doing it. All you parents out there that know what's going on, God love you for letting your kids know. I'm going to sign off. Please just share this everywhere. This is amazing.
Imagine not standing with the truckers. Imagine not standing with the Freedom Convoy. Imagine not wanting to be a part of Team Humanity and Team Freedom. And yet, here we are, and you still have media lying about the truckers. You still have the Prime Minister of Canada lying about the truckers. And now they're trying to shut it down with law enforcement. I mean, the evidence that we're in a battle of good versus evil has never been more apparent. And the evidence of who's good and who's evil has never been more apparent. And so for Trudeau, who claims he wants to unite Canada, to be missing out on the biggest unification maybe in Canadian history behind this Freedom Convoy, it just shows he's the bad guy. He's team anti-human. He's team human lockdown. But see, Trudeau is just making his pitch to the Klaus Schwabs, to the Bill Gates of the world. Trudeau is just making his pitch like, hey, I'm a good authoritarian. I'm a good authoritarian dictator. I'll crush my people. I will destroy my people. I will lie about my people. I will crush my country with no shame. Select me to be the first president of the world. Select me to be the leader of the New World Order. I'm Justin Trudeau. Don't you see what I've done to Canada? Don't you see what I've done to my Canadian people? You want me to do more? I'll send the law enforcement after them. I'll send SWAT after them. I'll go into hiding. I'll tell people they're racist. I'll build up hatred and foment division in my country. I will destroy my country. I'm Justin Trudeau. I want to be the next president of the world. Klaus Schwab, pick me, daddy. This little authoritarian turd, Justin Trudeau, who's still in hiding. So I don't know what is next for the Canadian police. I don't know if they're just retreating now to come back with another plan, or if this is them waving the white flag, or maybe standing in solidarity with the Freedom Convoy. This is breaking news right now. They've been threatening to go in and arrest and imprison and find the truckers for 24 hours now. They've been hovering. They made their move in there today. Truckers didn't budge an inch. Canadian police backed off. So another victory for the Freedom Convoy. Another victory for the Great Awakening versus the Great Reset. Another victory for Team Freedom. What will Team Authority, what will Team Human Oppression come up with next to crush the Freedom Convoy? Back in stock.
With all the craziness going on in the world, with the globalists plotting their next big lockdown, or the next phase of the Great Reset being a staged cyber attack, with the deep state pushing a civil war, not just here, but in Europe, and war with Russia, with the massive inflation and all the other garbage that's taking place, like supply chain breakdowns, you need to get prepared now with high quality storable food that is ready to ship. And it's been 4 years since My Patriot Supply at preparewithalex.com has offered their storable food at 25% off. 4 years. But right now, it's 25% off until February 13th, 2022. A little over 2 weeks from the time I'm cutting this to get 25% off at preparewithalex.com on the entire catalog of My Patriot Supply. Act now. Get prepared now. This is absolutely essential for everybody that wants to be self-sufficient.
Sleepless nights seem to be a lot more common these days with everything that's going on both at home and the world at large. If you are having trouble getting to that deep sleep we could all use more of, our new sleep support formula, Down and Out, is just the thing. It's our new faster absorbing liquid formula that is specifically designed to help you get the shut-eye you deserve. Formulated to improve upon our best-selling product, Knockout, with Down and Out, now the herbs and melatonin packed inside are extracted directly into the glycerin solution. So the ingredients are already dissolved into the formula before you even take it. One of the other sleep support herbs included is the passion flower, which was traditionally used by Native Americans like the Cherokees, who used it for its relaxing qualities. Be sure to take this product when you are completely ready for sleep, because you will be down and out. Selling out now at InfoWarsStore.com.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
The fight for the future
and Schroyer. Watch the live stream at band.video.
So every Democrat holding office in California was caught at the Los Angeles Rams versus the San Francisco 49ers football game, the NFC Championship game, over the weekend. And folks, I mean every single one. It was dozens of Democrats in a private luxury box, you know, because they're one of us. They sit in the private luxury boxes. But I mean, it was mayors of San Francisco and LA and DAs, and Newsom was there. I mean, just dozens of Democrat politicians at this football game, none wearing masks. None wearing masks. And of course, they've got all these cameras at football games, and people can snap photos on their phones. And so they got caught all at the football game without a mask, while they demand that your children wear a mask and that you wear a mask if you want to go shopping. And then they don't wear the mask. So why should we? But they all got caught. So Newsom had to issue an apology for getting caught not wearing the face mask for, what, the 12th time now? It doesn't seem to matter. And this apology video from Gavin Newsom that he released yesterday is just hilarious. So let's watch this unintentional comedy from the phony who looks like American Psycho rewarmed over, Gavin Newsom.
Correct. I was very judicious yesterday. Very judicious. And you'll see the photo that I did take where Magic was kind enough, generous enough to ask me for a photograph. No. And my left hand's a mask, and I took a photo. The rest of the time I wore it, as we all should.
Here, pause it real quick and restart it. I want you to notice, in case you haven't, notice how his voice is trembling while he's talking. His voice is trembling. Because he knows he's lying, and everyone knows he's lying, and he's in front of a podium, in front of a crowd of people that he knows is going to be seen by millions, the video clips, lying. And he knows, everyone knows he's lying. He's like, oh, I always wear my mask. I'm very prudent and judicious about wearing my mask. He didn't have a mask on the whole time. I don't see any photos of him with the mask on. I see photos of him with it off. So listen again as we start this over. Listen to his voice trembling as he knows he's lying, and he knows you know he's lying.
Past few days there's been, as it relates to, you're correct, I was very judicious yesterday, very judicious, and you'll see the photo that I did take where Magic was kind enough, generous enough to ask me for a photograph, and in my left hand's a mask, and I took a photo. The rest of the time I wore it.
Do you believe that?
As we all should.
He asked Magic for a photo.
When I had a glass of water, I think. And
I love that part. Hold on, rewind it. I was talking over because he claims Magic Johnson asked him for a photo. Give me a break. Nobody asked you for a photo. I love this part. But I had to have a drink of water or a thing. I mean, this guy talks like a mafia gangster. Rewind it 5 seconds again. This guy, every demeanor of him is a mafiosa gangster right now. Like Lori Lightfoot with the get vaxxed cash on the ground. Listen.
everybody else to do so.
Not a glass of water or a thing.
That's it.
Fox 11, I know you, probably...
Yeah, I had a water or a thing, and I never had my mask on.
Given your history with this issue, should you maybe have reconsidered taking the mask off for the photo, the image, the message that it might send?
I mean, of course, I was trying to be gracious. I mean, I was trying to be gracious.
You can't even say mistake.
For a brief second, but I encourage people to continue wearing them. I want
like a trained con man.
This is important today.
Won't say mistake.
It's an important day. And a 14.5% positivity, which is a very encouraging sign.
So imagine, all right, pull them down. So imagine, you're Gavin Newsom. Your state is in so much debt that they're begging the government for money. Your state is having a mass exodus of its citizens because nobody can stand to live there. You've got the violent crime waves. You've got the fecal matter all over the streets. And you're upset, and your biggest issue is masks. And then you go to a football game with all your friends and you don't wear a mask. And then it's so bad that the next day you have to have a press conference addressing the fact that you never wear a mask, but you make all the citizens of California wear masks, and you make little children wear masks and suffocate in schools all day. And then you just say, well, I was having a water or a thing. Magic Johnson wanted my photo. I haven't seen a photo with you of a mask on, Newsom. It's never even on your face.
Frank in North Carolina, thanks for holding so long. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alec, I just have to say something, man. It seems like every time I turn broadcast your bragging. It just gets old, man.
I'm going to shut you down right now, okay? We're taking calls about your nomination. Do you understand they're having congressional hearings trying to shut us down? Do you understand I'm ringing the alarm? If that was happening to anybody else, I'd be freaked out. I mean, what's it going to take? Us being shut down? Is that what you want, Frank?
You know what, Alex?
Hey, put him on pause again. Hey, Frank, do you understand it's not bragging to say we are the tip of the spear, we're under attack, we need your help? As much begging as I do, we can barely pay the bills and grow in the face of this. I'm not going to just stop growth and let them start pushing us backwards. You understand? I need your help, Frank. I need your help, Frank.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com right now and help fund the InfoWars.
Do you understand? I need your help, Frank. We're into the second hour of the InfoWars War Room, brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com, and I'm about to be joined by my guest for the day, Frank Urbaniak. Now, Frank is a decorated combat veteran. His bio here on my desk is just so long, I don't want to spend the time going through it, but decorated veteran, so many grassroots in Oklahoma, and of course a father and a husband as well. And Frank is running for mayor of Oklahoma City, and so he's got the roots, he's got the ties, he's got the experience, he's got the veteran leadership, and he has the will to win. And so Frank is joining me now. Frank, I want to just start by asking you, what is it that made you decide, after serving your country, going through so much, why did you decide to run for mayor of Oklahoma City?
So, in the fall of 2020, our mayor shut down restaurants and bars at 11 o'clock, and I, along with a group of restaurant and bar owners, we took him to court. He was using something called the Riot Control and Prevention Act to threaten these workers with arrest and jail. So hopefully that sounds odd to you, that they're shutting down bars and restaurants using the Riot Control and Prevention Act. And so we took him to court 11 days later. He backed down because it was a phony disaster declaration, and we fully opened them and removed that threat of arrest. But because of that lawsuit, I just became so disgusted by our current mayor and his treatment of these great people, of these great businesses, and I realized he just didn't care. He didn't care who went out of business, who lost their job, who couldn't provide for their family, and so I figured these people need somebody that actually cares about them.
Well, I look at Oklahoma, I study the political demographics, if you will. It doesn't really get talked about much, but Oklahoma is actually maybe the most conservative state in the union when you look at actual voter turnout and voting Republican, if you want to look at it like that. And so I think people would be surprised when you think about Oklahoma City. You think, hey, they probably are avoiding most of the mandates. They're probably avoiding most of the shutdowns. No, the mayor there has been very tyrannical since COVID.
Absolutely, and this was just one of 3 lawsuits that I filed. One of them was against the governor and the Able Commission, who enforces alcohol beverage laws, and then another one was against the city of Guthrie, and they basically outlawed going to church. And so, yeah, one would think that Oklahoma is immune from things like that. We had, I believe, every county in Oklahoma voted for Donald Trump, but no, we have a leftist mayor, and people call him a rhino. I don't think he's even a rhino because he in no way associates with the Republican Party. They don't associate with him, and he subscribes to the Biden agenda. For example, that phony infrastructure bill that was passed, every member of the Oklahoma delegation voted against it. He was out there tweeting up a storm saying how it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So no, he surely does not share our Oklahoma values.
Well, I hear from activists in Oklahoma all the time, and I know it's a strong conservative state. I'm shocked that any leadership would even get in there that would be not as staunch conservative, but we're seeing it. What else is going on, though, for people to know? Because this happens in all the major cities, sadly, is that you have leadership that just seems to be at the beck and call of the left or the communists, like in Oklahoma City where you wouldn't expect it, but it's still there. And then it's just your city is gone. It's not the city. If I went and visited Oklahoma City 3-4 years ago and I went today, it's like a completely different city now.
Right, yeah, our mayor was out there kneeling with BLM and front of our police, and that was just a complete disgrace what he did. And that's another reason why I'm running is because he's out there doing these things. He worked to end constitutional carry. So we had the constitutional carry bill we got passed a couple of years ago, but not that he was just not in support of it, he actively worked to not make it or to repeal it. So he keeps doing all of these things because he just feels invincible. I mean, he has like $600,000 in the bank, and he just feels like he can do whatever he wants. He's a career politician, the typical political hack. He was first elected to student council in the 6th grade, and he's been running for office ever since. Never held a real job, probably not operated a cash register a day in his life, but he's so entrenched in politics here and knows so many people that we call it the tall buildings crowd. And so they're giving him all these max donations. So he thinks he can just get away with whatever he wants.
Is Oklahoma City a sanctuary city, or have you guys avoided that distinction?
No, I don't think we're officially a sanctuary city, but this mayor certainly would not care if we were. I know there actually are some cities on the flips, or some counties that are sanctuary counties for the Second Amendment. So that should probably make you happy.
Well, aside from Urbanek for mayor, let's talk about you as a combat veteran, as a father. The big issue right now for Republicans is the border crisis. It's a wide open border. The crime is obviously pouring in. There was a hearing. It's still ongoing with the Freedom Caucus, just showing all the lawlessness down there. A couple House of Representatives from Oklahoma were down there as well. As a combat vet, as a father, as you see the lawlessness, using the southern border as an example, as you see the lawlessness in this country, what goes through your head?
What's a complete disgrace, and the number one job of our government should be to protect the borders, and it's not even doing that basic thing. And some people have asked me, what am I going to do about that as mayor? Well, as mayor, then there's not a whole lot I can do about that. I can certainly serve as a voice and an activist to do those things. And right now our current mayor is palling around with Joe Biden, and as I said on the campaign trail, when Donald Trump gets reelected, I look forward to palling around with him, promoting Oklahoma values.
Now, how bad is it? Let's talk about the children in the schools. Are children allowed to breathe freely in schools in Oklahoma City, or are they being forced to suffocate like some of the others?
Well, this is something that my wife and I were very active in 2020. So they shut our schools down, and they went to an A-B schedule to where they were just going 2 days a week. And so this parents' rights thing is not a new issue to my wife or me. So we were out there protesting, and at school board meetings, we'd probably be on some watch list if we were doing that again today. But we have been out there to get the schools fully opened. And just to give you an example, I have a special needs child, and they weren't even letting special needs children go to school every day of the week. And so kids like that, they just fall farther and farther behind than all the other kids. We were fortunate enough to get our other two children to a private school, but our special needs child could not go. But no, that we have had mask mandates, and that was a reason why we pulled our kids out, the ones we could, and took them to private school. And so they've had a mask mandate in the school, but they have said, well, you can apply for an exemption, and you can use personal reasons as a reason. So of course we exempted our kids that are still in public school from the masks.
Well, we've got to take action at the local level, and so that's why I think getting you on and getting you in office would be great for Oklahoma City. We need to have local leadership, and then we can build a foundation and maybe hopefully have good national leadership with a strong local leadership as the foundation. So, Frank, tell people where they can go to follow your campaign, donate to your campaign. I know we have a large audience in Oklahoma City. Where can people get involved and help you de-seat this career politician that's driving OKC into the ground?
Yeah, thank you so much. FrankUrbanek.com. I try to make it as easy as possible, so it's my first and last name, then a .com after that. And you can go to my Facebook page, Frank Urbanek for OKC Mayor. But no, we need donations as always. People say how much? I say as much as possible, because we're in the last days of this campaign and we're doing some very targeted things, and we still need money for those things. So please donate. Any amount is appreciated. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And I've been describing the week hackneyed Republicans that we've seen too much of lately as squishies, and I ID people running as non-squishies, non-squishy Republicans who are going to get in there and actually be a rock for this country, get in and actually be a rock for freedom, rock for truth. Would you call yourself a non-squishy?
Absolutely. I say, look at my record. I filed 3 lawsuits against out-of-control government in 2020. We have probably the most successful one in the entire country when we got a restraining order on the governor. So I think my record speaks for itself.
Combat vet, father, and roots in Oklahoma, Frank Urbaniak. Thank you for joining us. Best of luck in your campaign. Folks, go, if you're in Oklahoma City, you want to get them in, frankurbaniak.com. Frank, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there he goes, folks. We're going to be trying to highlight great candidates like this all across the nation. This is one of our chances to save this country, is get good leadership in there.
With all the...
Remember the swine flu scare of 1976? That was the year the U.S. government told us all that swine flu could turn out to be a killer and could spread across the nation. And Washington decided that every man, woman, and child in the nation should get a shot to prevent a nationwide outbreak, a pandemic.
I don't need another flu shot. I had a flu shot last year. A swine flu. Swine flu? Man, I'm too fast for that to catch me.
You'll want to be protected, especially if you're elderly or chronically ill. Get a shot of protection. The swine flu shot.
46 million of us obediently took the shot. And now 4,000 Americans are claiming damages from Uncle Sam amounting to $3.5 billion because of what happened when they took that shot. By far the greatest number of the claims, 2/3 of them, are for neurological damage or even death.
Influenza is serious business. During major flu epidemics, millions of people are sick. Thousands die. Well, this year you can get protection. The vaccines are safe, easy to take, and they can protect you against flu. So roll up your sleeve. Protect yourself.
One of those who did roll up her sleeve was Judy Roberts. She was perfectly healthy, an active woman, when in November of 1976, she took her shot. 2 weeks later, she says, she began to feel a numbness starting up her legs.
By the following week, I was totally paralyzed.
So completely paralyzed, in fact, that they had to operate on her to enable her to breathe. And for 6 months, Judy Roberts was a quadriplegic. The diagnosis? A neurological disorder called Guillain-Barré syndrome. This disease can even kill. Indeed, there are 300 claims now pending from the families of GBS victims who died, allegedly as a result of the swine flu shot. Judy, why did you take the flu shot?
I'd never taken any other flu shots, but I felt like this was going to be a major epidemic. And the only way to prevent a major epidemic of a really deadly variety of flu was for everybody to be immunized.
As part of informing Americans about the swine flu threat, Dr. Sensor's CDC also helped create the advertising to get the public to take the shot.
If swine flu wants to challenge me, I'm ready. Oh, me too, brother, me too.
Get the swine flu shot. Time is running out.
Let me read to you from one of your own agency's memos planning the campaign to urge Americans to take the shot. Swine flu vaccine has been taken by many important persons. Example, President Ford, Henry Kissinger, Elton John, Muhammad Ali, Mary Tyler Moore, Rudolph Nureyev, Walter Cronkite, Ralph Nader, Edward Kennedy, etc., etc. Did you talk to these people beforehand to find out if they planned to take the shot? I did not know. Did anybody? I did not. Did you get permission to use their names in your campaign? I do not know. Mary, did you take a swine flu shot?
No, I did not.
Did you give them permission to use your name saying that you had or were going to?
Absolutely not. Never did.
Did you ask your own doctor about taking the swine flu shot?
Yes, and at the time he thought it might be a good idea. But I resisted it because I was leery of having the symptoms that sometimes go with that kind of inoculation.
I'm mad with my government because they knew the facts, but they didn't release those facts because if they had released them, people wouldn't have taken it. And they can come out tomorrow and tell me there's going to be an epidemic and they can drop off like flies next to me. I will not take another shot that my government tells me to take.
Meantime, Judy Roberts and some 4,000 others like her are still waiting for their day in court.
So roll up your sleeve. Protect yourself.
If you want to see
InfoWars War Room brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com. InfoWarsStore.com, where we have the best quality emergency food supplies on the market and the biggest sale happening right now, 25% off all storable foods at InfoWarsStore.com. We've also just launched a new sale on Survival Shield X3 nascent iodine. Yes, Survival Shield X3 nascent iodine. We've got Survival Shield X2 and we've got Survival Shield X3. Kind of like how we have different sleep aids at InfoWarsStore.com. We have a couple different options for nascent iodine as well. Survival Shield X2 was on sale, but now it's Survival Shield X3 that's 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. And so take advantage of that sale as well. Look at the benefits of nascent iodine. Most people are deficient in iodine, and this causes all kinds of health problems. That's why we sell the nascent iodine, the most pure iodine you can find in a liquid tincture. I do it straight under the tongue for maximum absorption, but there's other ways to consume it as well. Survival Shield X3, 50% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. All right, so the latest here with the Canadian Freedom Convoy. Here's the headline of the Washington Post. They're just something else over there. Washington Post headline: Canada must confront the toxic Freedom Convoy head on. That's right. It's racist, it's toxic, it's bigoted, it's misogynistic, and the Washington Post demands it be shut down. And they want the truckers arrested, and they want them banned from trucking. Now, you know where this ultimately goes, right? I mean, we know what the New World Order has in store, right? And I'm not saying that because people are implying that this is a AstroTurf Freedom Convoy so that the New World Order establishment can come in with the perfect excuse to have automated trucking and automated driving trucks so that you eliminate the truckers from the picture. I don't believe that for a second. However, I wonder how long it's going to be until they decide to make that play and until they decide to have that spin of, yeah, you know what, just eliminate the truckers, just eliminate humans from the equation. I don't think they're ready to make that public play yet because it's too revealing of a hand. And you've noticed that the left has revealed a lot of the cards in their hand here lately. Okay, they pretty much just wallow in hatred all day. They love censorship. They hate free speech. They hate America. I mean, we can go down the list. The open borders, all the crimes. I mean, they openly promote pedophilia now. So, I mean, I can go down the list of all the cards that the left has shown you is in their hands that they're playing now. But that's more kind of social stuff. They don't really like to reveal the big plan of the Great Reset. So these people really think they're promoting vaccines for their health to stop COVID. Ha ha. Yeah, that's what it is. But no, one of the bigger plans of the Great Reset is to have everything fully automated. Eliminate the humans from the equation at all. That way, you don't have to deal with pesky humans not obeying your commands. You don't have to deal with the proletariat class disobeying your edicts. So you won't have to deal with truckers saying, hey, we're against mandates. We're not going to be delivering food. We're going to shut down the borders until you relinquish the mandates and Trudeau resigns. They don't want this to even be a scenario in the future. They want the whole system automated. Eliminate the humans from the picture. So I don't think they're going to be ready to come out and make that play yet and reveal that card. Might be a little too heavy, as the Great Reset is still a big story that people are investigating. So then they'll hear that public statement of, oh, you want to replace humans with machines. We're in the middle of what you call the Great Reset. Oh, and they'll start to put two and two together, and they'll realize, oh, I see, the Great Reset is all about eliminating humans. Ah, I see. So I don't know if they're going to make that play now, but if the Freedom Convoy goes on and they start to have a real impact, I mean, they may end up using Trudeau as a sacrificial lamb here and just say, hey, Klaus Schwab will just say, hey, just resign. We'll bring you back into the fold later. Sorry, you'll never be president of the world. Oh, no. but just resign, because we're gonna make the move now to have you resign, and then we're gonna say, oh, look at how dangerous truckers are. They forced Trudeau out of office. We have to eliminate truckers. Let's have AI smart trucks doing deliveries and eliminate the human equation. And so that might be how they reveal the card, as kind of a bait and switch with Trudeau, or a power play post-Trudeau. But I don't know if they're ready to make that public announcement yet. I don't know if they want to fully go public with their plans to eliminate humans from the equation, which is the ultimate goal of tyrants like Klaus Schwab and communists, with this great reset that they're in on. But now American truckers are wanting to get in on the fun. America is next. U.S. truckers mobilizing convoy to Washington, D.C. White House in full panic. That's the headline at Infowars.com. A fast-growing Facebook group called Convoy to D.C. 2022. This story was published hours ago. Facebook's probably banned that account by now. I don't know. We should find out, guys, if you can for me. Convoy to D.C. 2022 is calling upon American truckers to amass a convoy to head to Washington, D.C. to protest Joe Biden's restrictive COVID measures. So there you go. Brian Von D, the organizer of Convoy to D.C. 2022, declared on Facebook last Thursday that America is next to experience the trucker-led revolution against COVID tyranny. So that'll be on Facebook for probably about a week or so, and then they'll probably just remove it and say it's racist or something. So are we going to see a trucker convoy, a freedom convoy in America next? It's got 135,000 members on the Facebook page, so it is still up there. And boy, oh boy, you know, it's such a heartwarming thing. It's such a salt of the earth thing. It's such a human, pro-human story, such an underdog story. The truckers that are the bedrock of our economy and civilization in so many different ways, the cornerstone, and yet get overlooked, kind of get smeared, don't really get the respect they deserve, and kind of have a lot of stereotypes about them. But yet here they are in one of the most biggest moments in human history, emerging as the heroes, emerging as the front lines of the stand against tyranny. What a great underdog story. What a pro-human, heartwarming story that is. Just amazing. We covered yesterday how Liar.com now goes to the Wikipedia page. Some investigations were done upon this. People believe it was Elon Musk that purchased Liar.com and then had it rerouted to Trudeau's Wikipedia page. And there's some circumstantial evidence here. Elon Musk likes to use the numbers 420 and 69 as a joke. And the donation was $42,069. So as somebody that has a lot of money, they had to purchase the web domain Liar.com, which had been owned by a different party since 2000. I'm sure that purchase wasn't cheap. And so it's private. The actual owner now of the domain, it's being held private by the domain company. But is it Elon Musk behind Liar.com?
With all the crazy, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 4 years since My Patriot Supply allowed us to do 25% off on food sales. Now, they have the food ready to ship. It's super high quality. It's the lowest price you're going to find anywhere for food of this quality. It's what I use, what my family uses, what I've stockpiled here at the office, because I know the globalists want a post-industrial world, want to collapse civilization. And if they're able to do it, we've got to have generators and diesel and food and everything, which we have. But a lot of you obviously don't have the money or the places to store stuff like this. But storable food you do. Put it in the attic, put it in the basement, put it in the closet. They bought massive amounts of food last year and this year because they saw the prices going way up with inflation, which did happen. But literally, only for our viewers and listeners, they are doing a once 3 or 4 year deal of 25% off, only for InfoWarsStore.com shoppers. You can also go to preparewithalex.com. That will take you as a URL straight to the subpage of InfoWarsStore.com. All their specialty foods, all of their products, 25% off. And what's great is we normally only make 25, 30% on the food because there's not a lot of markup. They make 20, 30%, we make 20, 30%. That's why they're affordable. They're not doing 200%, 300% markup. They're doing 100% and then trying to pay their bills with them. That's why they become dominant, because the price again is so low. But they are eating the 25% discount and not taking it out of ours. Because when we do discounts, part of that comes out of what we make, and we need money. we don't have extra money. We're a little bit in the red here. So this is a godsend when they called and said, hey, we actually don't have a lot of extra food, but we got a little bit more than what we thought we needed. And we package this and ship it out when it's fresh. And so it literally, God laid it on our heart. These folks are big Christians, obviously big supporters, to just help you and your listeners by giving them 25% off. So this is exclusive to InfoWarsStore.com, Ready Hour. They've got 5 big facilities around the country. Their main base is Utah, and we are their biggest seller as well. But I'm telling you, they've got a warehouse in Utah I was at that you could park an aircraft carrier around. So that's just the front end. That's just 1/20th of it. The whole storage facility where the raw food comes in and gets processed is the whole back of the building, 80% of it. I mean, it is the biggest building I've ever been inside of. So, and all that scalability is how they give you these great prices. So, literally, Lord works in mysterious ways. As I said earlier, I'm sitting there with accountants last week going, oh, we got a $2.5 million shortfall again. We can't get a lot of the supplements in because of supply chain breakdown. People aren't going to buy $2 million worth of t-shirts. What am I going to do? I just sold my house. I'm going to put that in, but that was for expansion and new operations and backup systems. What am I going to do? And then boom, this just came right through, and we're having massive sales. Biggest sales of food ever. People with the Russian situation, the supply chain breakdowns, all of it understand. Now's the time not to wait. One of the big things you've got to check off on that checklist of preparedness is durable food. They've got water filters, air filters. They're discounted too. InfoWarsStore.com or PrepareWithAlex.com. And hopefully this sale runs through the 13th. Hopefully it looks like at current sales rates, we might actually get the $2.5–3 million just perfectly in the sale that they called and said you can do this for 2 weeks. So thank you, God, and thank you, listeners, for the support. But this is something you already need. So it's a 360 win, and God always keeps me right on empty, though, like the widows might. Each day it's renewed. So thank you, Lord. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Desperation for war is extremely palpable. And you've already had the attempt, I think, by the Biden administration to do it and foment it, and it failed miserably. Biden has bad relations with Russia. Biden has bad relations with Ukraine. Putin doesn't even take Biden seriously. He probably, whenever he has this scheduled phone call for Biden, it's probably when Putin decides he's going to use the bathroom, and he'll put on speakerphone and do his Mother Nature duties while Biden is speaking to himself, lost roaming the White House, and then Putin says, yeah, okay, and then hangs up. And then there's President Zelensky of Ukraine, who Biden tried to get to buy into a war with, and Zelensky said, we're not interested. Thank you. Please stop calling me. Please leave me alone. We don't, maybe something will happen with Russia, maybe it won't, but we certainly don't want you involved. Leave us alone. We know you're corrupt. Just please, just stop calling me. We don't want your involvement here. So Biden's attempt to start the war failed. The ability for the CIA or other spy networks, Mossad, whoever it is, to run false flag operations in that region, that ability is not what it used to be. A, because I think Trump actually just carpet bombed a lot of their underground tunnels and networks, so they just can't even operate really anymore. But then B, they've just been caught engaging in their false flags so many times that the world doesn't buy it anymore, and Putin and Russia are now a serious contender on the world stage. If the U.S. tried to pull something like that, or Israel tried to pull something like that, Russia would call it out immediately, and they'd have the backing of Syria, they'd have the backing of Iran, and then that might be when China even throws their hat into the
false flag. Now, I would still suspect that if it's truly the globalists that desire a war in Ukraine, they will launch a false flag. But I'm not really sure this is truly a globalist operation. I think this is a straight up Democrat Biden pulling a Bill Clinton trick of, hey, when the polling is bad or the headlines are bad, just bomb a country. That's the old Clinton play, which is not the first one to do it, but he's famous for doing it. Whether it's Serbia or other countries, Bill Clinton was well known. Just go bomb the hell out of a country. That'll distract from the bad headlines of me, abusing the White House and, having the girls come over. And maybe the flights on Epstein Island as well. Really easy to distract from that with a nice bombing. And so I really think that was just a strategy of the Democrat Party trying to start a war in Ukraine or foment some sort of violence in Ukraine that they would just insert themselves into to distract from all the disasters that have come about since the Biden administration. Well, that's not really working either. So what other play is remaining to try to foment U.S. involvement in a Ukrainian-Russian standoff? We'll call it that. Well, they can use the media. They can use the media to foment some violence. They can use the media to drum up their false narrative. And maybe that then can swing the public support back in Biden's favor to get involved in a war between Russia and Ukraine, or even start one, which is what he would really like, I think. Yeah, look at that. That's incredible, guys. Hold on. Put that back on the screen. Published 1 hour ago from BBC. U.S. is trying to draw Russia into war, says Putin. It's just true, folks. I mean, that's how bad, that is how corrupt and dastardly our leadership is. See, Putin's just telling the truth. And so, Putin kind of makes these statements as just an aside because he knows most Americans. Look, Putin doesn't hate America. Putin doesn't hate Americans. Putin knows that our leadership and our politicians are some of the most corrupt, evil criminals in political world history. Putin doesn't want war with the American people, but he knows how corrupt the American regime is. He knows Biden represents that. So most of the time, Putin isn't even going to deal with the fake Western media. He's not even going to deal with the fake news. I think he had some fun with some back and forth with Trump. But yeah, so Putin wants to provide a 30-second comment or soundbite. Somebody asks him about Russia and Ukraine and U.S. involvement. He's just going to give you the truth and move on. So he says, yeah, Biden is trying to get us into a war with Ukraine. It's not going to work. What did I say last week? Biden is not going to outsmart Putin. There isn't a single Democrat strategist, there isn't a single person anywhere near Biden that has near the geopolitical wherewithal or strategery or intellect of Vladimir Putin. It's not even close. So Biden thought he was going to set up Putin into a trap to start a war. That failed miserably. And now it's Biden with egg on his face trying to start the war between Russia and Ukraine. And neither Russia or Ukraine want anything to do with Biden. But here comes the Western media. Here comes the corrupt American Western media to the rescue. This was the #1 trend or the #1 pushed thing on Twitter today. Totally fake. But there was a press conference with Secretary Anthony Blinken today. Russian invasion of Ukraine would be met with swift and severe consequences, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken confirms. Oh, are you going to go over there and do that, Anthony? Is Biden going to go over there and do that? Are all the people in the media clamoring for war with Russia and Ukraine? Are they going to go stand on the Ukrainian border? Of course not. But the Americans that they disparage every day and call deplorables, they'll send them over there, though, to spill their blood treasure. So yeah, there was a press conference today with Blinken. It went an hour or so, and it's just what you expect. More fomenting. Oh, Russia the bad guy, Ukraine this, Russia that. But we're America. We'll start the war. We'll be there to bomb people and kill people. We'll send our troops over there. It won't be me. I'm Secretary Blinken. I'll be safely at home watching the whole thing. I can't even stand the sight of blood. I don't even want to bust a grape in a fruit fight. I just don't. Yeah, the good Americans that sign up for the military because they love American freedom, we'll send them over there to die for part of our cover-up of the Biden disaster, and we just love war so much. you know, I would like a new remodel to my house, and I've got stock in Raytheon, so I mean, yeah, we want a war with Russia. So he clamored on about that for an hour or so today. Again, but it's all media. It's all for media purposes, drumming up the narrative, trying to get more public support for war in Ukraine where there is none. BuzzFeed. Threat of Russia invading Ukraine hasn't stopped Ukrainians from living their lives. And I'm doing a live editorial process here. They can't even publish headlines without mistakes now. It says threats of Russia invading Ukraine hasn't stopped Ukrainians from living their lives. These people, they just... What's life in Ukraine like when a Russian invasion seems imminent? Even this headline I have to live edit here because the grammar is horrible. My God, BuzzFeed, what's going on over there? So BuzzFeed is pushing it. Here's the AP. Ukrainians train in guerrilla tactics in case Russia invades. And there was all night on the liberal media, and even Fox News played some of it too. So that's when you know the command went out from the power structure that you're going to play these clips. You're going to get public support for war in Ukraine with Russia, where there is none. And folks, it'd be like, remember those old videos of Antifa war training camps where they're like playing with like plastic bats and like bowling pins and like jumping onto mattresses, and it's just clown stuff. Now, I'm not saying these Ukrainians are like Antifa. I'm just saying they showed all of these Ukrainian training videos on the news last night, acting like Ukrainians are set for an invasion by Russia, like it's an inevitable thing. Again, just trying to humanize the Ukrainians, like, oh, they're victims, so you need to support a war with Russia. And it's just Ukrainians that are just, you know, doing odd training exercises, and maybe there's some military leadership there, but they're just like crawling under wires and learning how to load a weapon. And it's just, again, I'm not saying it's the same thing as the Antifa videos, but it's the same energy. These people aren't going to war. They're not going to stand at the border with a rifle if Russian military arrives. Russia's not going to go into Ukraine and start murdering people. It's all Western media trying to foment the war now. And Vladimir Putin is telling the world what's going on. He says Biden and the U.S. are trying to bait us into a war with Ukraine. It's not going to happen, Biden, you sick son of a bitch.
With all the...
We've been selling the best water filters that you can get at the best price at InfoWarsStore.com for years now, but more and more evidence comes in over time as to why you need to filter your water. And so the base revelation was that, hey, they're adding a neurotoxin to the water known as fluoride, or presented as fluoride. In some such cases, it's hydrochloric acid, which is even worse. But we know they add that neurotoxin to the water, fluoride. It's been well studied. It's considered a neurotoxin. It lowers IQ. It hurts the pineal gland. And so that was the basis of, let's have a water filtration system that you can drink clean water out of and not have to deal with the fluoride. But then there was all kinds of other news that broke about other chemicals and glyphosates and BPA. Some places, they just had chemicals in their water that would light on fire, and they would turn on the tap and they could literally light it on fire is how bad it was. Of course, you heard about the lead in the water in Flint, Michigan, and many other cases with that. So there's always new reasons why you should be filtering your water at home so that you can have a clean water supply. Well, another study has just come out, ladies and gentlemen, and I hate to be the bearer of this bad news, but here it is. Millions consuming invisible toxic cocktail of cancer-linked chemicals, according to a new study out of the Environmental Working Group's Tap Water Database. Let me just read directly here. Millions of Americans are unknowingly ingesting water that includes an invisible toxic cocktail of cancer-linked chemicals, a new survey of the nation's tap water has found. The Environmental Working Group's 2021 Tap Water Database, available to the public, revealed contamination from toxins like arsenic, lead, and forever chemicals like perfluorocanol and polyfluorocanol substances in the drinking water of tens of millions of households across all 50 states and including Washington, D.C. The EWG president said this in a statement. The Environmental Protection Agency's Officer of Groundwater and Drinking Water has demonstrated for